Welcome guys, this is the Olkak TV by Matafari guys. Welcome to Olkak TV by Matafari. And guys, this is my second video, and in this video one of my followers asked me to explain what I mean, or the difference between the system, the state and the deep state. Who is the system, who is the state, and who is the deep state, and how does each one of them affect our election or electoral system in Kenya? Now, I want to be very brief and explain guys. Number one, when we talk about the system that runs in Kenya is the same system that runs in each and every colony country. When the Europeans, specifically the Britons, colonized us, and also other European countries colonized Africa, they developed a system in which they used the system to divide and conquer and control the resources and the people of each country. That system, for those who learned history, was called the indirect rule. It was called indirect rule, whereby the colonialists, the Britons or the French or the Portuguese used the native Africans or the indigenous people. They used the indigenous people to rule over their own. In Kenya, the colonialists picked on the Kenyatta, among others. We had Okinga Odinga by then, we had Kenyatta, we had so many others, Kishuru. And they, in the pretense that they are taking them to prison, they never took them to prison. Like in Kenya, we are lied to about the Kapenguria 6. Those people were taken to an isolation center, like a higher learning institution, whereby they were taught administration, they were taught to become leaders, and those leaders are the sycophants of the whites, are the sycophants of the colonialists. Therefore, Kenyatta ruled over Kenya, and after Kenyatta, where it established, he established a leadership called Kanuism, came to Moi, and Moi told us Nyayo, because he's following the real slogan of Kanuism. And from Moi, it came to Kibaki, and Kibaki continued Moism, and from Kibaki, it came to Uhuru. Uhuru continued Moism, and now Ruto is still continuing Moism. So you have heard on the internet people saying, oh, this is Rutoism, others are saying this is Uhuruism, but actually Kibaki, Moi, Kibaki, Ruto and Uhuru, these are the children of KANU. These are the children of KANU. You can remember when Raila was joining KANU, when there was a merger of NTB with the KANU, and there was a formation of new KANU, and later Raila demanded that he should be made the presidential candidate, or he should be given a high profile in KANU, and Moi told him KANU iko na wenyewe, or KANU has the owners. So KANU actually had the owners, and Moi said, even if you say Moi must go, KANU will stay for over 200 years. That's what Moi told us. Moi said KANU will stay for over 200 years. Those people who think that by stipulating KANU and KANU losing grip on parliament and executive, people think that KANU is over. KANU as a party actually is depleted, but the KANUism, the descendants, the children and the descendants of KANU are in place, and they are the people running the system. So when we talk about system, we are talking about the organization of governance emanating from the executive, springing down to the Mzee wa Nyumba Kumi, and this system of governance speak one language, create one goal and one objective, and they work towards the achievement of one classified, so-called the secret. The secret is the European or the Britons or the colonialists ruling over us. And it has been like that for the last 200 years, and it is going to continue to be like that for another 200 years. So for those one who thought that KANU cut off the power, and we are Democrats and we are being ruled in a democracy, and then they don't understand politics. So those who thought that the hustlers had elected another hustler who was Ruto coming to help them to solve the hustlers' problem, they were in for a shock when Ruto did not do what he promised to the hustlers. Ruto came in and continued Moism. Uhuru continued Moism. Kibaki continued Moism. And the only person who could have overhauled us from Moism was Honorable Raila, because Raila wanted to bring us the different the different type of leadership, and the leadership he wanted to practice was communism from socialism from Russia and Germany, because those are the communists and the socialists. So Raila wanted to practice communism and socialism just like what is happening in Tanzania. And this is the reason why the deep state could not allow Raila to come closer to power. Because if Raila could have won election, he could have changed the protocol. Raila could have changed the protocol. He could have moved us from the British system. And remember, the Britons and the Germans and the Americans, they practice the same kind of system. The system is called capitalism. Those who have should keep having, and those who don't have should keep don't having. When you are rich, you should be more richer, and when you are poor, you should continue being poor. That is the essence of capitalism, and that is the essence of KANUism. That was the essence of Moism. That was the essence of Kibakism. That was the essence of Uhuruism, and it is currently the essence of Rutoism. And even the person who is going to come after Ruto, suppose he's also a child of the system. If the person coming in is coming from the system, if the system is the one picking him in, then he will continue the Moism, the KANUism. Not until the day we shall get somebody of the left, the far left, the day we shall get a president from the far left, that is when our situation as Kenyans will change. Guys, you are in for a rude shock. When you look at Kalonzo Musyoka, being a man of himself, he worked in different ministerial posts under Moi. He was the vice president of Honorable Kibaki. He is a typical Moism. A typical Moism. When we look at Rigathi, he has served as a DO, a DC. He has served as a PA, personal advisor to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Another Moism. Another point, that's why if you look at the politics of Rigathi, is to divide communities in the tribal line, so that it is easy for control. If someone talks about Sifuna, probably somebody may say Sifuna is different because Sifuna is coming from Baba, an offshoot of Baba. Probably I may say yes and no. Why? Because Sifuna, being an offshoot of Baba, will never be allowed to come closer to power. Never. Just like what they did to Raila. They will not allow Sifuna to come closer to power because he is an offshoot of communism. He is an offshoot of communism. So what happened is that the capitalists, now the leaders, those ones, the people who control Kanuism are what we call, those people who control Kanuism are what we call the deep state. The deep state comprises of internal and external forces. The external forces include the Americans, the Britons, and the French. You saw Ruto enjoying moments with the Macron from France. You saw Ruto attending the G7 summit. Because when you talk about G7, mostly these are the European Council. You saw Kenya being advanced as one of the non-permanent NATO member. When you talk about NATOism, we are talking about the same oligarchs. So these are the people who control us. So each oligarch, each European Council has placed its own people in each and every government who creates a system called a deep state. So those people who are under a deep state are a partisan not to the president, not loyal to the Kenyan people, but they're loyal to the council which pays their bills. They are loyal to the council that pays their bills. These are the people we categorically call them deep state. They are Kenyans. We have another deep state in Uganda. The Ugandans. We have another deep state in Zimbabwe. The Zimbabweans. We have another deep state in South Africa. We have another deep state in Nigeria. You know. And you saw what these people who are kicking out French, the revolutionists, the Westerners, those people in West Africa who are trying to kick out French from the West Africa, they are trying to do away with the oligarchs. In Kenya, we have not reached there. The day Kenya will decide to come closer together and unite and kick out the oligarchs, but it is not easy, guys. But I pray that one day we can reach that level. So Sifuna was picked by an oligarch to advance Railaism, so that those followers of Raila who embraced communism will embrace Sifuna, and by so doing, you divide the country into factions, because the majority are Kanuism. The majority are Kanuism. But if Sifuna can fight the trenches, if Sifuna can have another hand, probably a hand from Russia or Germany, and if he manages to squeeze power out of deep state, he will have done a very heavy duty. And if he does that, Kenya will be overhauled. If he does that, Kenya leadership will be overhauled. And we pray that he succeed in his endeavor. We pray that he succeeds, that Sifuna succeeds in his endeavor. If we can come and change the system, change the deep state, and change the state. So somebody was asking about, now that you talk about the system and the deep state, who is the state? Now the state are the facial, the people we see physically on a TV show. These are the politicians that are elected to create the state, the government, the judicial, the parliamentarians, the MCAs, the administrators, all these people who don't hide the face, who create governance that solidly we see physically. This is the governance. This is the government that we see physically. This is the state. But the state is neither here nor there. The state does not have power, because the power given to the state by the Constitution is only practiced, skewed by the deep state. Deep state are the people who oversee which leader comes in which office, on what day, on which circumstance. And when the leader comes into the office chosen by the deep state, the leader inside the office practices canoism. In Kenya, or practices the oligarchism. We call it the plutocrats. Practices what his mentors, his bosses instruct him to do. When you see Ruto taking too much tax to police the World Bank and the IMF, it is not his beating. He has to do that. If he doesn't do that, he will be kicked out of the office by the deep state, because you are an amateur. Ruto is an amateur in that office. He does not exercise any power, as opposed that we think that Ruto is powerful. He is not. Because the day, the moment, the hour, the minute he does not abide by the rules of the deep state and the rules of the oligarch, that is the day he is thrown out of the office. Mark my words, and I have said the truth. Guys, you have been watching the Oligarch TV by Matafari. Like, share, subscribe, and press notification button so that anytime I post this type of video, the YouTube will always notify you on time. Guys, I love you. Have a good day. This is the Oligarch TV show. Bye bye.